What's up, guys? I'm Emerald Marie, and be sure to check us out on the web at realfansrealtalk.com.
This is your African King of Comedy, Michael Blackson. You watching Real Fans Real Talk. Get real with it, my son.
Live from the can. Vibe the king.
This is Real Fans Real Talk. Real fans, real talk. We as real as you thought. Real fans.
Legend in 2 games, day 36 without sports, but the quarantine tour continues. With that being said, I wanted to present you guys with a little bit of sports debate. Let's get the conversation going. All right. Drop a like, drop a comment. Ultimately, let me know what you think. Drop a rebuttal, but make sure you keep supporting and following. I definitely appreciate it. So last time we did NBA best team to not make a finals in the past 20 years. We got great responses on that. Everyone gave me their opinions on it. Now this time we want to do NFL best team to not reach a Super Bowl over the last 20 years. And again, same rules apply. We're not talking about teams that got to the game and then ultimately lost. We're purely talking about teams that were the best that specific year and didn't reach the Super Bowl and possibly never got another chance to get there. So with that being said, I want to get the honorable mentions right out the way because there were a couple teams that jumped out to me immediately. And just going by year, 2005, the Colts were the best team in football. They were 13-0, obviously, that year. Then tragedy struck. Tony Dungy's son kills himself. They end up going 14-2, having the best record in the NFL and the AFC with home field advantage. And they lose in a divisional round to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that game will always be remembered for Jerome Bettis fumbling at the 1-yard line, Nick Harper picking it up and having a chance to return it, which could have been the game-winning touchdown. Somehow, Big Ben Roethlisberger gets a tackle on Nick Harper. The Colts still get in field goal range for a chance to tie the game in the final seconds, and that kicker misses the kick. They lose, and the Steelers ultimately go on that season and win the whole thing in Jerome Bettis' last season. Again, an honorable mention. The Colts were the best team in football that year. That might have been the best team that Peyton Manning had ever played with when you look at the collection of weapons. Peyton was in his prime. Edgerrin James, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark. They had at least 4 Pro Bowlers on that offense, another 2 on defense, Dwight Freeney, Robert Mathis, Bob Sanders. Stacked team, but ultimately tragedy struck as they were really rolling, and then it kind of carried over into the playoffs. They couldn't even get a playoff win. But again, an honorable mention because they were able to get to the Super Bowl the very next season and win. So that's why I didn't make them number 1 on this list. The very next season, 2006, the Chargers were loaded. Phillip Rivers was a Pro Bowler. LaDainian Tomlinson, Antonio Gates, Sean Merriman, Eric Weddle, Antonio Cromartie. That team was stacked. They had the best record in the AFC the following season, and they also lost in a divisional round to the New England Patriots. That'll be a game a lot of people will remember for not only the Patriots coming back to win that game, but also several Patriots doing the Sean Merriman dance, sack dance on the Chargers logo after the game, which almost caused a fight. LT was really upset. He wanted to get at some guys after that one. Again, to me, they weren't the best team to never make it, but they were a very good team, and that's why they deserve to be on this list. They never got close again. They never got another opportunity. They did go to an AFC championship 2 seasons after, but LT was banged up. Gates was a little older in his career. Phillip Rivers was banged up as well. They never really made another real threat other than that season. 2012 stuck out for 2 reasons. Because one, it's always known as the Harbaugh Super Bowl because the Ravens and the Niners played. But honestly, looking back, they probably weren't even the best 2 teams that year. In the AFC, the Broncos set all types of records offensively. It was Peyton Manning's first season after leaving Indianapolis. They had the best record in the AFC, and they almost seemed to be in cruise control against the Ravens in the second round of the playoffs until a late comeback and then a Hail Mary from Flacco to Jacoby Jones sent the game in overtime. The Ravens went in overtime. That was it for the Broncos. They got an opportunity to go to 2 more Super Bowls after that. That's why I didn't make them number 1. But just looking back at that one particular season, they definitely were the best team in the AFC that should have gone to the Super Bowl. But also in the NFC side of things, people always forget that the Atlanta Falcons actually were up 17-0 on the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. And the reason that game stuck out to me as I look back at it, the Falcons were absolutely stacked. We know they did go to a Super Bowl a couple years later and blow a lead. So maybe this was a little bit of foreshadowing as to what Matt Ryan's career would be. But the Falcons were up 17-0. They had Julio Jones, Roddy White, Tony Gonzalez on that offense. The defense was led by John Abraham. Asante Samuel was on the defense. they had a really good team that year, and they blew a lead with a chance to go to the Super Bowl. And ultimately, we know what happened a few years later when they actually got to the Super Bowl. That was 2012. Both those teams were very good. Again, both those teams got an opportunity to go to a Super Bowl later on. Broncos went 1-1 in their 2 Super Bowl opportunities. The Falcons lost theirs. But I didn't make them number 1 on this list, again, because they both kind of regrouped and found a way to get there again. 2018 is questionable. I thought the Saints were the best team in football that year. Obviously, they were kind of robbed by a non-pass interference call against the Rams. The Rams ended up going to the Super Bowl. The Saints, that was the second of 3 straight brutal playoff losses for those guys. They still haven't recovered. They're still trying to figure it out. But I left it a little short because, again, I don't know if the Saints, if their run is over, if they even would have won the Super Bowl that year. That Patriot team was very good, and that Patriot team dominated a Rams team that kind of went up and down the field on the Saints. But nonetheless, the Saints were one of the best teams in football that year, and they definitely were the best team in the NFC that season. But it leads me to my number 1 overall pick. And I think this team could be debated not only for the past 20 years, but all time, just because of all the records they set. And I'm talking about the 2011 Green Bay Packers. The 2011 Green Bay Packers, for some that don't remember, they were 15-1. They had only suffered 1 loss all season. They set all kind of records offensively. They actually still have a lot of offensive records that stand to this day. They rank in the top 5 all time, and a lot of offensive records, including passing touchdowns, QBR, yards per game. They were explosive. And one of the things that stuck out about this team was not only did they go 15-1, they were coming off winning the Super Bowl the prior year against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had won, going back to the previous season, 2010, 19 straight games. It was the second longest NFL winning streak ever. They were 15-1. They set all types of records offensively, and they lost immediately in their first game. They were stunned by the Giants, who ultimately went on to the Super Bowl that season. But the reason I make this the number 1 team is for all the greatness of Aaron Rodgers and where we place him amongst all the all-time great quarterbacks. He's going to be right up there on any list. They never got another chance. They haven't gotten close enough yet, again, to go back to the Super Bowl. And they were legitimately the best team in football that year with a chance to go back-to-back champions. Again, we're talking about a team that went 15-1 and had a 19-game winning streak dating back to the previous season. They were without a doubt not only the best team in football that year, they probably were the best team in football over the last 20 years. And they just had one really bad game against a Giant team that had a really good front four and a Giant team that had some really good passing weapons. Look back at it. But ultimately for me, the 2011 Green Bay Packers are the best team to not reach a Super Bowl in the past 20 years. And again, I highlight the fact that they have not come close again. That might have been Aaron Rodgers' greatest season and an opportunity to go back-to-back, and he's still chasing that second ring. But let me know what you guys think. Again, drop a like, drop a comment, drop a rebuttal. If you think there's a better team over the last 20 years, let me know. I want to hear from you guys as well, man. Make sure you guys are staying safe, stay indoors. Legend in 2 games, Real Fans, Real Talk. We'll be back on the air real soon. But until then, keep checking out the YouTube page. Keep supporting us on Instagram. We out.
Smush Parker here, formerly of the Los Angeles Lakers, and you are now tuned in to Real Fans, Real Talk.